Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Premier Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. We are flying solo as of the minute. I guarantee you, Mrs. Green trying to wake Tim up right now. That's all right. I'm sure he'll file in here in a second. Hopefully everybody's having an awesome morning. Right on cue. There he is. We'll give him a second. Tim, take your time if you can hear me, brother. No rush at all, man. We got Mike Berry in the chat. We got United Bates filing in. Blake B. Good to see Blake B in here, man. How you doing? He says the Green Bay Packers, the only team in history to win 3 consecutive NFL League championships. That was 1929, 1930, 1931, and then they did it again in 1965, 66, and 67. Go Pack, go. See, that's the thing that the Kansas City Chiefs are going after this year. And it's one of the reasons why it's when you see them catch so many breaks on crucial plays. I see a lot of the arguing or the stance on the opposing side saying, well, they don't get the most calls. This team's got more calls. We're talking about the most opportune calls. That's what sticks out the most about these Kansas City Chiefs is when you sack Patrick Mahomes on a third down, lo and behold, there's a defensive holding somewhere, right? Or God forbid you actually tackle him and they throw a flag for, roughing the passer or whatever it is. It looks fishy because, again, the Packers being the only team to have done that, and now the Kansas City Chiefs have a chance to win 3 in a row. And, of course, you've got the haters that say we can't claim those 3 consecutive championships because only 2 of them were in the Super Bowl era. There's no point in arguing about it anymore, Packers, all those championships, I guess we're not allowed to count them unless they happen after a certain year, right? So that's why I try to stay out of that conversation, Blake B. But yeah, man, they three-peated twice. And what's cool about the 65, 66, and 67, many people don't know this, but there was a big rivalry between Curly Lambeau and Vince Lombardi. For those of you who don't know, Curly Lambeau had a falling out with the Packers. He ended up going to Chicago, and then he came back right before he passed away and got to see the new stadium that was built and kind of make amends with the Packers organization, that type of thing. Well, it's pretty much common knowledge that Lombardi didn't care much for Lambeau, and I'm sure Lambeau felt the same way about Lombardi. You got to understand, Curly Lambeau was Jacob, all right? He was running the streets. He was chasing the women, and he was just very popular with the lady friends, and he liked the nightlife a little bit. Vince Lombardi was a family man. He was going to be I'm trying to think of what the proper term is. I think he was looking to be a priest before he got into coaching, if I remember correctly. Very devout Catholic, not a perfect man, obviously, but he's seen things very different from a family value standpoint. Curly Lambeau was just, hey, let's live by the seat of our pants here, right? Or fly by the seat of our pants, I should say. So, yeah. So when Lombardi was going to get that three-peat, it meant something to him because he got a chance to do something that Curly Lambeau did, right? Because at that point, it's wild. We look at Lombardi like he's this great all-world coach, but at the time, you could only imagine the fans were probably comparing everything he did to Curly Lambeau, who won all those championships, right? So it's interesting to go back in time here, Tim. I'm glad Blake B brought this up, and that's really what's on the line with the Kansas City Chiefs season this year. And when you see how Green Bay had to do it back in the day under Curly Lambeau and then again Vince Lombardi, where Green Bay wasn't this high free agent destination, although free agency didn't exist back then. It's just a small town. We were always dealing with financial troubles, the stock drives to keep the team afloat over and over and over. And then you just see the refs handing win after win after win to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's frustrating. But again, that's why we're pulling for Philly. As bad as I hate to say that, I hope the Eagles beat the crap out of the Chiefs to prevent that three-peat. Tim, how you doing, Bob?
Good morning.
You go.
I'm good. It's funny, Clay. It's like the last time I was at the Hall of Fame there, I see 13 trophies. I mean, it looks like they count to me when I see all those championships when you walk into the trophy room. I mean, seems legitimate to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Haters going to hate, right? I remember it was several years ago. It was probably 10 years ago. Me and the boys would get together. We'd play Madden, right? And it'd get, the competition get hot and heavy, right? And a little side note, your boy here used to be a damn good Madden player. Went to a couple of different Madden championships, all that stuff. Went to Atlanta a couple times. Played down there in attorney. Did pretty good. Not my cup of tea. We'll just leave it at that. The environment was very. This isn't football. This is how do you glitch the game and do whatever you can to get this money that's on the line, right? But made it to the Final Four in Atlanta in a tournament. But when I would play against the boys here at the house, Tim, we show a replay, and if it was a good replay for my Packers, I'd always make sure the camera angle was positioned perfect where you could see those 13 championships on the facade of the stadium, or however many it was at the time, right? So, it was 13 the entire time. But, yeah, had a lot of fun with that. I'm with you, man. They count. And anybody who tries to pretend like anything that happened before the Super Bowl started doesn't matter, boy, I want nothing to do with you, because that if it wasn't for those football players laying the foundation, this league wouldn't be what it is, right? It would be no way. I mean, these guys played for pennies on the dollar, passing the hat around the stadium. Like, I've seen the old pictures, especially like Hagemeister Park and some of those shots before Old City Stadium was built over there at East Green Bay High, where it is now East Green Bay High. And you would see people would pull their cars right up to the edge of the grass. I mean, they had ropes marking off the field pretty much, right? And they'd have their cars parked up next to the edge of the grass, and they'd be sitting on the hood of their car watching. And they'd pass the hat around to pay the players, right, to keep it going. So anyone who's like, oh, that stuff doesn't matter, get away from me with that stupid crap.
It's why we have a league today. It's why the NFL has become what it has, is because of the groundwork that was laid down by the founders, by the founding figures of this sport and this game that we love here, as they call it in Europe, American football, right? American football became a really big deal, because of the Curly Lambeaus and, yes, the George Hallases. And, there are legends in this game that, long before the Super Bowl era, that laid the groundwork. And it's the reason why we have a Super Bowl era, because the game became that big and that important.
Yeah. And, at the time, you didn't have free agency, right? It was when a player came into the league. Now, early on, you could kind of go get those college players as soon as they were done with college, right? Curly was good with that with Don Hudson. He was an excellent recruiter in that sense. But it was once the draft came along, you drafted these guys and you had rights to them, right? That's pretty much how that worked. You could trade them, but you pretty much had rights to them.
And then, of course, who was the team that pioneered free agency in the NFL?
Exactly. Yeah, you guys, Reggie White, of course, right?
Yeah.
That was when free agency kicked off. It was like, man, teams like the Green Bay Packers will never last. They'll never make it. They don't have the financial backing to compete in free agency. And they just went out and said, we'll take the best player in free agency. Come on over here and play. So, funny how that works. But anyway, appreciate everybody following in, man. We got a crew in here. If you would, hit that like button for us. We appreciate you making us a part of your morning here on this glorious January 29th. We're on hump day, baby. It's Wednesday. Tomorrow is the East West Shrine Bowl, tomorrow night. And then, of course, Saturday we're going to be doing our watch party at 2:30 Eastern time, 1:30 Lambeau time in the afternoon. Make sure you find the Senior Bowl on TV on Saturday, put it on your TV, hop on here, and we're going to talk ball, break down some of these prospects in real time. It's just going to be a party, man. We're going to be doing a giveaway that day too. Don't forget, we're going to be giving away an autographed Dorsey Levens jersey, an away white jersey. Beckett from pristineauction.com has the sticker of authenticity, all that stuff with it. That's going to be going to one of our lucky Patreon members or YouTube members. Like I always say, rather you join Patreon than be a YouTube member, because you get a lot more bang for your buck over there. We got chats that everybody can kind of get their voices heard here on the show a little bit easier, outside of the super chats, of course, in here. So if you want to join that, just go to patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access, or scan the QR code in the upper right. And you can pick the cheapest tier there. Again, there's only multi-tiers because people wanted to donate more to the show to keep things going here. And if you want to just join the cheapest, no one's going to judge you for that. You get access to every feature within there for that. So we're going to put everybody's name on a wheel, spin it, and give away that jersey. Here comes Saturday. Speaking of the Patreon group, Tim, we had a couple new questions here. Drew in there said, offensive lineman Donovan Jackson, Ohio State is interesting. PFF has him listed as an offensive tackle at number 94 on the big board. He only played half a year at left tackle. The rest of the time was left guard. In my opinion, he did okay at left tackle, but did not look comfortable. He was dominant at left guard and is my offensive guard one. Good stuff there, man. So instead of taking an offensive tackle and converting them to offensive guard, maybe we could have a guard with some tackle experience. I like him, but only as an offensive guard. So there you go. That probably explains, Drew, why we're down on him a little bit more than most. I actually looked him up here, and we've got him in the 78 spot. So, Tim, again, we've got him listed as an interior offensive lineman as well there, Drew. So PFF 22, whatever position he played in 22, he was ranked 28 at that position. In 23, he was ranked 83rd at that position. In 24, he dropped to 131st. So that's probably when he played left tackle that Drew's talking about. So that kind of little side story of why he maybe didn't perform as well, right, a little later in his career. When we took the information in, we had him at the consensus big board at number 41, and the PFF big board had him at 91. So we've got him slightly higher than the PFF board, but lower than the consensus big board in the 78 spot. So keep an eye on Donovan Jackson. Obviously played big-time program, national championship team. Tim knows how to get it done. That's an interesting prospect there.
Yeah, definitely. And even if you only like him as a guard, right? I mean, if we're talking about moving one or two guards to center anyway, we got to pick up the slack, right? We're going to need depth at that position. That's one of the reasons I liked Marcus Weir so much, from Montana State. We talked about him a little bit. A right guard, but he had some tackle experience.
Right.
And like he's saying here about Donovan Jackson, played only half a year at left tackle, so primarily a guard. So you know what you're getting there. If you're drafting for versatility, we probably want to look somewhere else, but I'm not opposed to taking just a stud guard if it improves our O-line in the long run.
Yeah. Fred McFarley says, I wouldn't mind O-line in round 3 if we take a cornerback and wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. So Fred McFarley kind of laying out his blueprint there. And we're going to do a mock draft here in a minute. And we're going to do like we did yesterday, how we did Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft. We're going to do a gentleman from the 33rd team, his mock draft. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and give him a shout out right now, and we'll do it when we actually get into the mock. It's Kyle Krabs, his first round mock over at the 33rd team. And I did a little bit of research on him too, guys. I think he helped found the Draft Network. He's been doing this for well over a decade. So I'm not just going to throw some, any Tom, Dick, and Harry on the screen and go, hey, this mock draft here, this dude's been doing it for a while. It doesn't mean that he's correct and he's going to knock it out of the park, but we're just going to compile multiple mock drafts from big websites that I trust. And the reason I trust the 33rd team is it's the way it's operated is exactly how the name says. It's like they put together a 33rd team of executives, of former coaches, former players to run a website based around football. And there's some people that rolled their eyes at it, scoffed at it. What do they know? What do they know? I don't know. Bill Parcells is in there giving them feedback, multiple executives of the year giving them feedback. And it just so happens that teams have reached out this year in their hiring process to help them. They basically asked them, hey, what would be your recommendation on some of the hires we made? So when NFL teams are leaning on them for information, I'm sorry. One or two other people saying the 33rd team is a garbage website. I'm going to take
teams at every level that lean on 33rd team. They actually offer those consulting services and things to colleges and even I believe high school programs too. Yeah. So we're a big part of this game at all levels.
Yeah, and even the best executives and the best coaches who are in the league today get it wrong. That's why on this particular show we're not dunking on people when they get stuff wrong. Everybody gets it wrong, right? It's just I want to take those people who have been in and around the game for a very long time. Even some former players that don't like that stuff. Okay, that's cool. I can respect that. But you understand they have a lot more knowledge compiled, right? Decades and decades of football knowledge as opposed to one particular person that might have played 3 years in the league or 8 years in the league or even 12 years in the league. So it's just how my mind fires. I'm always going to lean on the side of more experience. And hopefully you guys have caught on here. I don't ever want to come across like, I understand this better than everyone else. No, there is so much more to learn about this game. And anyone who has literally 5 minutes more experience than me covering it, I'm going to shut up and listen. So we'll hit on that.
3013's great at, they bridge that gap between the different phases of the game, between coaching, scouting, and then your front office, your GM work, roster structure, things like that. I mean, it's really interesting resource.
Yeah, here's a perfect example. J. Cole says PFF hates when you pick Nolan at number 23, right? And that's just PFF's kind of system. That's why I typically don't show the grades when we do a draft, because immediately people would just look at the grades and go, well, that was a bad draft. No, it doesn't mean that. What's funny about the PFF website, and it's the thing that irks me about it, is you can go and take the highest graded player that's available, meaning PFF thought they were the best player available according to their grade, but on their board, they'll have them 100 picks lower. And it's like,
and then they'll give you you'll get a D- on your draft.
But I will say this about PFF's mock draft simulator. To me, hands down, it's the best on the market. It is unbelievable to be able to pull those grades up real quick and just, it's really, really cool. And you can randomize it if you want to. I try to keep it stock because I feel like they're trying to make it as realistic as possible. So, yeah, Jay, don't let that deter you. You know what I mean? Because you will go to other websites and Walter Nolan will go literally. Matter of fact, I don't want to spoil it here before we get into it, but to give you an example, I know Walter Nolan went well before 23 in this mock we're about to look into, if I remember correct. Let me just check real quick. I could be wrong. Kenneth Grant, there he is at 15. I'm pretty sure Walter Nolan went before we picked. I might be wrong there. Maybe it was slightly after. Yeah, it was probably slightly after. So I may have seen. Oh, here he is. So, yeah, they took him at 31, right? And PFF, if you take him, before pick 50, it seems like they don't like the pick that much, right? And the other thing, too, is their grading system, Tim, it's geared around what they think the needs are of the team. And I'm telling you, man, you look up, and I don't even know what they've got our needs listed as. Matter of fact, when we get into the draft, maybe remind me and we'll take a look at that. But it might be wide receiver, cornerback, edge, then defensive tackle. And we're over here going, man, we need a 3-tech back, not just for this year, but for the future moving forward. And then what's Goody doing? He's knocking on every 3-tech door at the Senior Bowl, right? So again, you gotta take all the information. More information is better than less, but you gotta know how to compartmentalize it. You know what I mean? So don't let everybody's opinion sway you. And just take it and make a mental note, man. And that's what I love about our board, is we put so much information in that you kind of get the people that we trust, and PFF is one. That's just one element of our board. So at the end of the day, it's a really safe board, is the way I like to describe it. So I think it prevents busts more. You'll have busts far fewer times going off our board as opposed to others, but we won't have those big hits either. Like
right.
Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper's one that's like, at the time, I'm going, it made sense where we took him, but hindsight, 2020, obviously, Edgerrin Cooper's the best linebacker in the draft. Now, another element we throw into our board is Greg Cosell's opinion, right? Well, with Greg Cosell, what did he say about Edgerrin Cooper? He may not be the best linebacker in year one, but he's hands down the best linebacker in this draft. And people hear that and they think that sounds like it's contradicting himself. No, he's saying it may take a little time to grab the game, but when he does, he will be the best linebacker in this draft. Well, what happened? He didn't start early, battling some injuries. They ramped up his reps toward the end of the year, and by the end of the year, he's the best rookie linebacker in the draft. So, perfect example. Greg Cosell, man. I'm telling you, Tim, you could count on one hand how many times he's gotten stuff wrong. And when he gets it wrong, it's not like he was over the moon. This dude's the best player in the game. He's telling you what he does well, what some of his negatives are, and kind of where he thinks they fit in. It's never something where it's like, this dude's going to be a Hall of Famer. He doesn't give those hot takes. So I really appreciate that. All right, let's see here. Ron Samble says in the Patreon group, not sure if you guys talked about Gray Zabel, center out of North Dakota State University. We did yesterday. I'm sure you've heard it by now, Ron. Gray Zabel is turning heads big time, guys. That's the name that's really popping there. And I keep forgetting, is he at the Shrine Bowl or the Senior Bowl, Gray Zabel? Let me check real quick on our board. We should have it marked.
I think it's Senior Bowl.
He's real high on our board. Where are you at, sir? Yes, Senior Bowl. You're right, Tim. So we got him in the 28th spot right now to North Dakota State. And again, the thing that's bringing him, that's a perfect example. Everybody's raving over Gray Zabel, right? And he could potentially be a first-round pick. He might be early second. The consensus big board had him at 74, right? And I want to know that information too,
And I've seen him listed as a tackle, and I've seen him listed as a guard, and I've seen him listed as a center.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
I'm excited, man. Ron Sample says, I'm sure you see everyone is talking about him. So anxious to get your take. Yeah. So like I said, yesterday's show, we went pretty in depth on him. In case you didn't see it, Ron, let me just hit it real quick. I'll just give you kind of his grades and stuff. I won't put it on the screen, but again, Gray Zabel, he's 28th on our board. We got him listed as an offensive tackle because to me, that's his most valuable position, but he will have a V next to his name, meaning he is versatile is all get out, right? So in 2022, he was the 155th graded tackle. In 23, he jumped all the way to 24th. And then this last year, he jumped all the way to 5th. The PFF big board has him in the 39 spot, or had him in the 39 spot. And the consensus big board had him at 74. So, again, we've got him in a 28 spot. The Packers took him at 23. I'd have no problem with it at all, Tim. Not at all. So we will see. There you go. I appreciate you, Ron. Thank you for the Patreon message there. And thanks to everybody in the Patreon group. Again, the best way to get your voice heard on here outside of Super Chats on YouTube is in the Patreon group. In one of those chats, I try to check them all regularly. The general chat, I don't spend a lot of time in because I just want you guys to be able to talk ball in there. But if you want your question or comment heard on the show, go to the questions tab or questions conversation. If you got a prospect you like, we got one for that. If you got a free agent you like, we got one for that. So there you go with the Patreon group. All right, Tim, let's move it along to what we're going to do today. I think we can do it too if we go in rapid fashion here. We're going to do the same thing we did with Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft, but we're going to do it with Kyle Krabs' mock draft here from the 33rd team. So what I'm going to do, Tim, I'm going to share the screen of our mock draft simulator. So you guys will have the actual mock draft on the screen here. You can see that okay, can't you?
Yeah. Don't use me as an example. I'm blind as a bat. But I mean, if I can see it, everyone else can see it then probably.
Yeah, and we'll try to zero in on it here. And you guys be patient with me because it's kind of difficult jumping back and forth to different tabs. This is a stressful thing for me to do, but man, I got great feedback yesterday and I really, really like doing these as exercises and kind of see how different people are seeing the draft and where they may or may not fall in. So let's go ahead and enter the draft. We got all 32 teams selected. So what we're going to do is pick for all 32 teams. And again, Kyle Krabs, this is his mock draft, the NFL draft lead over at the 33rd team. All right. With the number 1 pick, he has the Tennessee Titans. Actually, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit further. There we go. He has the Tennessee Titans taking Abdul Carter, edge defender out of Penn State. All right. With the number 2 pick, he has the Cleveland Browns taking offensive lineman Will Campbell here on the list. I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit so I can get you guys some more prospects on the screen. So he goes with the 8th overall, according to PFF, Will Campbell to the Browns at number 2. With the number 3 pick, you've got Cam Ward from the for the New York Giants. You got quarterback Cam Ward from Miami is going to be his pick. Now, this is what's interesting. You have to scroll pretty far down to find Cam Ward. Cam Ward's your top quarterback, according to the PFF big board, but they have him sitting in the 17 spot. So you're going, why did they take him at 3? We talk about it every year. This happened with Daniel Jeremiah's draft. I'm telling you, Greg Cosell 101. There's 2 drafts every spring. You got the quarterback draft, you got the NFL draft. People treat quarterbacks much, much more valuable than every other player in the draft. They're going to drive the draft every single year. Okay. So again, you got Cam Ward going number 3 to the New York Giants. That'll be your first quarterback taken off the board. Now you got the Patriots on the clock. Obviously, the Patriots got their quarterback last year in Drake May. Felt like he played pretty well. They're going to go defensive line here, according to Kyle Krabs. All right. And they're going to go with Mason Graham. This is a great pick for New England here, Tim. I mean, you're talking about Mike Vrabel coming in there and starting a new era in New England. Man, this right here, this feels like a Mike Vrabel pick. It really does. As they're going to go with Mason Graham out of Michigan with the number 4 pick here.
Yeah, of course. And we gotta compete with New England. Hopefully they don't take too many guys that we want off the board for sure. Be nice if we could get Mason Graham, right?
That's right. Would be great. Now we got Duval up next here, Jacksonville, as they're looking to go with one of the most dynamic players in college football history, and that's Mr. Travis Hunter.
Duval.
I bet Travis Hunter's seeing that and going, "Oh God, please don't let that knucklehead." Yeah, I guarantee it. There it is.
Travis Hunter's probably like, we're gonna have to get Coach out to the club, loosen him up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna do something.
Get him a vibe check, man.
Get some Hennessy in him or something, man.
Yeah,
We got to
there you go.
But yeah, Travis Hunter, 6'1", 185. He's going to go number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tim, I'm really interested to see how Travis Hunter transfers over to the NFL because, man, it's been a long time since we've seen a player as dynamic as him play both sides of the ball, conditioning is peak. The fact that Dion was trying to protect him from that. Coach Prime was trying to protect him from that. And he said it was just like trying to tame a wildcat. This dude, he wanted to be on the field all the time. I love that in a football player, man.
Do you think that'll happen at the NFL level? Or do you think he'll just be like super versatile on one side of the ball and maybe a special teamer?
Yeah, I think he probably carries the most value as a corner. I could be wrong. Now, if there's any organization that would screw it up and play him too much, get him hurt and ruin his career, it's going to be Jacksonville. So I wouldn't be surprised if he plays a little wide receiver there. But there you go. There's your top 5. So just a recap. Abdul Carter, edge defender from Penn State, goes to Tennessee at 1. Will Campbell, tackle out of LSU, goes to the Browns at number 2. He can also play guard. At the number 3 pick, the Giants take Cam Ward. So there's going to be a new era starting in New York. With the number 4 pick, the New England Patriots take the best defensive lineman in the draft, Mason Graham. Like I said, with the number 4 pick. And then number 5, you've got Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner, cornerback / wide receiver going to Jacksonville. Let's move on to number 6. Look at this, back-to-back Dion boys. Everybody likes to make fun of Dion. Hey, no, he's overrated. Here you go. You're going to have 2 borderline top 5 picks that he just basically raised both of them. It sounds like Travis Hunter is like a second son to him. And here you're going to have the Raiders take his biological son, not Mark Davis's biological son, but Dion's biological son. And Shedeur Sanders is going to be the quarterback in the future for the Raiders, according to Kyle Krabs. Tim, Shedeur was low on the board, too. He's like in the 40s, according to PFF. Now, other boards have him above Cam, right? A Cam Ward. I think what we found out is those are the 2 quarterbacks that are going to be 1A and 1B in this draft, you know?
Yep. I think the Raiders would be a good fit for Shedeur. I really do.
Mm-hmm. I agree, man. I think I think it probably Shedeur is he's gonna make a lot of money out there with marketing. There's no 2 ways about that.
And Pete Carroll's no stranger to winning with a rookie quarterback. I mean, he won a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson as a rookie. Yeah. So I mean,
and he's no stranger.
Anyone that's going to be and then you got Tom Brady there in the ownership group, so it probably is a good situation for Shedeur Sanders, I think.
And see, that's the thing too. They said Tom Brady has been very involved with Shedeur Sanders this whole time, being friends with Dion. I've heard that in the background as well. So this makes all the sense in the world, Yep. The other thing too, there, Pete Carroll's not no stranger to dealing with big personalities, right? He coached Richard Sherman. He coached Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch, I don't mean to laugh, but damn, that dude was a handful to deal with, right?
And those guys are still thick as thieves right now. I mean, you saw them having fun at the press conference the other day, and it does. It shows Pete Carroll's ability, despite, being an old dog in this league. He connects with the younger players, and they love playing for this guy.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. So Shedeur out there, man, again, I think it's going to be a good fit. Now we'll see. He's obviously got to show up, but I think that it's a marketing dream to have Deion Sanders' son playing in Vegas. Oh my gosh, man, they're going to be. I'm wanting to make it out there for a game. I don't know how you feel, Tim. I've never been to Vegas. Mandy loves it. I hate it. Like I've never been, but I hate the idea of everything Vegas represents. I'm not a gambler from a slot machine standpoint. I'm not a nightlife person. I feel like I would be pretty bored out there. I just want to kind of stay in the hotel and hang out, go to a nice dinner. That's about it. But I'd like to see that stadium, and that might be a good reason to take a trip to Vegas.
Vegas is becoming a sports town, though. It's happening. You've got NFL. They're working on getting NBA there. We all obviously heard baseball will be coming to Vegas. They got a pretty good hockey team in Vegas as well. So it's a little bit more than just the gambling and the boozing and the lady chasing. It's a different town nowadays, and there's a lot more to do. Clayton, I'll tell you one thing: the foodie in you would definitely love to try some of the restaurants in Vegas. Yeah. You would have some fun out there. So I would think if you went out for a game, you'd probably have a good time. for sure. My pops used to live in Vegas for a number of years. I've been there 1 or 2 or 11 times in my life. So I'll be your tour guide, man. We'll do a Raiders game in Vegas one day.
Yeah, I heard that they've got some really good Italian restaurants, and
yep.
I'm a sucker. I love all different cultures. Like, I'm that dude that I go to different countries to try food. I'll go halfway across the world to try different food. Like, down there in St. Kitts and trying their conch salad and all that stuff. And then of course, you just anywhere we go, it's just, hey, I try to hit a restaurant and go, hey, what's the local favorite? Give me that. I don't care what it is. Let's try it. So Andy Watkins says, don't eat the airport food in Vegas. There you go. I'm a sucker for that gas station sushi too. You know what I'm saying, Tim?
Oh,
I ain't scared of nothing, man. So that's why you'll hear me with food poisoning multiple times a year too, man. You got to keep that gut in check. You know what I'm saying? So
they got the buffets too, Clayton. We can go hit one of them, $125 buffets and spend the day eating all the food up,
This is a perfect example. Let's get back to the mock. The Jets are on the clock at 7. They show their needs as quarterback, D-line, and DB. Well, guess what? 33rd teams has them taking Tetero McMillan out of Arizona, okay, with the number 7 pick. This would be one that would probably get a bad grade, right? And because the 33rd team disagrees with the lack of need there, or, the need itself. So they're going to go with Tetero McMillan out of Arizona. With the number 8 pick, the Carolina Panthers are going to go with Will Johnson. This is a solid pick. PFF got him at number 6. His average draft position is 7.6. And they're going to go out and get the best cornerback in the draft outside of Travis. What's his name again? Travis Hunter. Okay, so they're going to go get Will Johnson out of Michigan and Carolina. That fit a need there, as they said, linebacker and DB at the time of the pick. Next, you got the Saints on the clock. They're going to go Shamar Stewart. Tim, this is interesting. Wasn't Shamar Stewart, was that the guy we took last year? Am I thinking? Or I'm sorry, not last year. Last night with Daniel Jeremiah's mock. Is that what we did? Let me pull it up here. I'm trying to think who it was that we took at 23. Yes, so we took Shamar Stewart. The Packers did at 23 last night, according to Daniel Jeremiah. Here's a perfect example. Kyle Krabs has him going top 10, number 9 to the Saints. So here's the deal. Shamar Stewart a little bit lower on our board, right? And we're not going to change it because of these opinions either, right? We're going to roll with our board and use it as kind of a sounding board for the other information. We have Shamar Stewart in the 51 spot. Now, Daniel Jeremiah sees him as a top a first-round pick, right? And now Kyle Krabs over at the 33rd team has him as the 9th pick. So you're seeing a player trending up, right? As you get closer to the draft, he's trending up towards the top 10, and our board is not going to change. It's going to change very little, I'll say that. When Daniel Jeremiah's board comes out, he kind of acts as our head scout. We put his information in. So that's going to sway it a touch. But our original board at that 50, whatever it was, I just said, 51 spot is going to pull him down a little lower than what most people's boards are. And I love that about our board. Again, it's a safe version. And people are going, well, why are they so high on Shamar Stewart and you're low on him? Here's the reason. In 2022, his PFF grade, he was the 855th ranked at his position. Okay. In 23, he was the 333rd ranked at his position. In 24, he was 95th. So you're seeing him improve, but still, he barely cracked the top 100 at his position in terms of PFF grade. Now, the PFF big board, Tim, it's a perfect example. He was the 95th at his position in grade. PFF big board has him at 19. How does that make sense? Right? And then, of course, the consensus big board had him at 25. So we are much lower on him because the PFF grades themselves are bringing him down. And it doesn't mean he's going to be a bad pick. It's just that's how our board's set up, is to give you more information rather than less. So we're going to go ahead. You got anything to add here?
No, I was just going to say the reason PFF has them where they have them is because they're basing everything on their analysis. And we're looking at kind of, multiple angles to kind of come up with our board. You take a lot of things into consideration, but ultimately, if we're higher or lower on a guy, it's because we're higher and lower on a guy based on the information that we've got from different channels. Whereas PFF's going to grade a player out. They're going to, whatever their, magical Wizard of Oz, man behind the curtain approach is to rating guys. That's where they're going to have their these prospects listed. So I think you get an advantage with us, building a board, kind of looking at multiple angles.
Yeah, definitely. So again, the Saints take Shamar Stewart, edge defender out of Texas A&M. I got to change that on our board too. We just had him listed as a D line because he's 290 pounds, right? But it sounds like most people are seeing him more as an edge. At least that's what the measurements that the 33rd team has here. So, all right, on to the Chicago Bears. Let's hope they screw this up, right? Well, in this mock draft, they didn't, Tim. They went with a stud here in offensive lineman. Where's he at? He should be towards the top. Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. PFF a little lower on him. They've got him in the 15 spot, so right there in that range. Some people think he's going to be taken in the top 5. We'll see. I think there's a good chance he'll be in the top 10. And here you see the Bears take Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle out of Texas with number 10 pick. Next is the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to go offensive tackle as well, and they're going to go get Armand Membo. Let's see how far down the list Membo is according to PFF. They have him in the 21 spot, so a bit of a reach according to PFF, but they say San Francisco is going to take him, they being Kyle Krabs in the 33rd team. Next, you got the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to go get defensive lineman Michael Williams out of Georgia. Okay, so the Georgia Bulldog going to get picked here. PFF has him in the 18 spot. His average draft position is 17.4, and they have the Dallas Cowboys taking him with the number 12 pick, Michael Williams out of Georgia. Next, you got Tyler Warren, tight end, going to the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, Tyler Warren seems to be pretty consensus. He's the best tight end in the draft this year. His rank is 13th. Average draft position is 15th. This makes a lot of sense for the Miami Dolphins to go tight end here and get the best tight end in the draft. Next, you got the Colts, Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia. The Colts are going to take him. And this looks like a great pick according to PFF. He's a 7th-ranked prospect that fell in the Colts' lap who has a need. They have a need for DB there with the 14th pick. So they're going to go Malachi Starks out of Georgia. And then with the 15th pick, the Atlanta Falcons are going to take the big boy, Kenneth Grant, interior defensive lineman out of Michigan, a guy that we're real big on. I was hoping he'd fall to 23. Here you see, Tim, he's going to go in the 15th spot to Atlanta. So Kenneth Grant's off the board now, Tim. What do you think about that? The Falcons
looking more and more like Deion Walker's going to be a Packer.
I'm interested to see where Deion Walker gets taken because we talked about him a lot. You guys know he's significantly lower on our board, but Tim's personal opinion, he loves Deion Walker. There's other people that think he's going to skyrocket up boards here soon too. And he's definitely one of those interesting prospects, having a down year last year, playing more one tech as opposed to 3 and 5 the year before. It's going to be
a day 2 pick. He's probably a day 2 pick.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's probably going to be. Is it going to be 2nd or 3rd? Is my question, right? Yep. And I can't wait to see that big fella at the combine. I hope he does everything at the combine. 6'7", got a 7-foot wingspan. If he runs a decent 40-yard dash, you're going to see him kind of be like Jordan Davis for Philly. Yeah. Skyrocket up the boards, right? So we'll see what happens there. So
thick.
Yes, he is. Kenneth Grant is off the board. Next, you got the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to go offensive tackle in Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. All right. They're going to go sure up that offensive line for the mayor of Munchkinville over there and our boy Kyler Murray. Next, the Bengals are on the clock. They're going to go offensive tackle and say, man, we're tired of seeing Joe Burrow pick his mouthpiece up off the turf. So they're going to go Oregon offensive tackle, Josh Connerly Jr., who should be fairly close to the top, I would imagine. Here we go. In the 27th spot, they're going to take him at 17. His average draft position has been 28.5. So the Bengals shoring up that offensive line and getting Josh Connerly Jr. from Oregon. Next, you got the Seattle Seahawks. This is an interesting prospect, Tim. Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker is one of these dudes that it just feels like Quay Walker all over again. So the Seattle Seahawks are picking 18th, and linebacker is a need along with center, guard, and edge, according to PFF. The top linebackers available are Demetrius Knight Jr. at 30, Jahad Campbell at 40, Carson Schweisinger, I think I'm saying that right, out of UCLA, and then Jalen Walker at 51. So they're saying Kyle Krabs is saying that Jalen Walker is going to be taken with the 18th pick when PFF says he's worthy of the 51st pick. His average draft position is 42.7. So people are drafting him almost 10 spots ahead of where PFF has him ranked on the big board. And when you look at Jalen Walker here, 63, 72, 73 for the PFF grades, right? So I don't understand what's truly going on with Jalen Walker other than he must be a physical freak. Where did Daniel Jeremiah have him? He had Jalen Walker going
16.
So this is another player that on our board, again, when you look at him on our board, Jalen Walker, we have significantly lower. See if I can find him without searching. I may not be able to because I know he is a lot lower than most people see him as. Like we got Jay Higgins in the 90s spot. He's got to be higher than that. Let me see here. Give me just a second, gang. Where is Jalen Walker? Holy cow, he's way down, Tim. Yeah, way down our board. Jalen Walker, we got in the 108 spot. So what the hell is the 33rd team in Kyle Krabs and Daniel Jeremiah seen in Jalen Walker? It's got to be the athleticism, right? It's got to be.
Has to be. Or maybe the other question is, why are they lower on Jahad Campbell or Carson Schweisinger?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, so I see what you're saying. Maybe it's not Jalen Walker is just so much better than everybody thinks. It's that the other guys are kind of overhyped. Could see that. Okay, so that's going to be really interesting because, again, this kind of feels like the Quay Walker pick. Georgia, last name Walker, linebacker, obviously, right? But you remember Quay Walker was like lower on everyone's boards, and a couple of days before the draft, he just skyrocketed up boards, and he was the talk of the town. The Packers ended up going and getting him. So number 18, Seattle's going to take Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. These are the stories to keep up with. You know what I mean? It's what's going to really mold the draft, the quarterback class, and then these players that seem significantly lower that just fly up the board. So next you've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to go get Siobhan Ravel out of, East Carolina. So this is a guy that's a very interesting prospect. Some people are bigger on him than others. He's ranked 32 according to PFF. He's been going average right around the 31 spot. So Tampa Bay is going to take him with the 19th pick. Next, you've got the Denver Broncos taking Colston Loveland, tight end. He is out of Michigan. So the big Michigan tight end, Colston Loveland, sits in the 29 spot. The Broncos are going to take him at number 20. Number 21, you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tim, this just feels right. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go get Ashton Gianti, running back, the best running back in the draft. The fact that they're getting him at 21, holy cow, dude. And Mike Tomlin, man, bring that run the ball first mentality back to Pittsburgh, right? In that cold weather football. They're going to go for sure. And then number 22, right before the Packers pick, the Chargers are going to take Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas. All right, so that's a pretty big need for them. So here we are again, Tim. Our second mock draft,